Today we're going to talk about our subframe connectors that we offer. These are 1.5" 065 chromoly. They have brackets that go on the rear portion, and of course they have plates that go on the front, which are already welded on this car, which I'll show you in a minute. These brackets here are designed to cup. Just imagine my hand is the rear frame rail, how it goes up the rear of the car. It's designed to cup that frame rail there. It's just inside the lower control arm area. This is the right side, left side. They are miter cut for the front. They have left side wrote on them. Left side being 07 in the part number, and right side being 08 or 008 and 007. So we're going to walk you through installing these, because a lot of people have asked us after they bought them how you install them, even though the pictures are pretty self-explanatory, but I'll walk you through the steps. These brackets for the rear, I'll show you a close-up of them. We weld these together for you, so you don't have to worry about that. So let's go through the steps of installing. Okay, we're underneath Steve's car. We've already got the front plates welded on in place that come with the subframe connector kit. These plates are bent already. They have the contour cut out right there for this, I guess, cross member that's made into the floor. So you have it on this side, and you also have it on this side. There is a right and a left. So we've got this area cleaned. We've got this sanded back down after we just MIG weld that in. We also sand the body floor, or the floor pan right here. Let me get this out of the way. So we sand that area, we sand this, and then this is where your rear bracket is going to attach. See, your lower control arm ties in there, and this is the rear frame rail. So that is where the rear of the subframe is going to land. I'll grab a bracket right here and show you how that goes on. The large or the longer leg of the bracket will go to the inside. So that will end up being right in there somewhere. We did the short, or just the, I guess, flush on the outside because it's kind of hard to get up in there and weld. On the inside, you got plenty of room to weld all the way around that. So now we're going to take our tube and we're going to get it up in there. And yes, the floor hangs down a little bit below the plane of the tube, but typically we use screw jacks, and we'll go ahead and get this box in place. We'll just slide it on the end of the tube, get the tube up there, and I'll show you what we do. We just run these screw jacks up, and it pushes against the bottom of the floor and flexes the bottom of the floor just enough to get it flush back here and flush up here. And then you can come back at the end, which I'll talk about this in a minute, and stitch weld down the floor, because technically you're supposed to weld the subframes to the floor on 25/5. So that's a way to do it without having to French them in the floor and worry about all that. You'll also weld it up here. So let's get the tube in there and go from there. All right, we got our screw jacks against the tubing, and we got our rear bracket in place. Tubing's kind of tight sliding up in there, but it's a good fit. You'll see it's up against the floor. I've got this one pretty tight. I've got this one just snug up against it. You can see it's gonna try to pull off just a little bit like that. Don't worry about that right now. All you're worrying about right now is getting this bracket tacked in place. So I use a C-clamp. Make sure the back of it is pushed up against that. You might have to bump it with your fist to get it to sit flush against that. Make sure the front is flush against this. And then on the back, like I said, C-clamp's pretty easy, because you can just let it get on both faces and make sure it's flush right in there so you can weld it. So what I'm going to do now is tack it all the way around so it don't move, and then I can come back and get this tacked to this plate. The reason why it's holding it off is because this floor has all types of weird shapes in it, and it's trying to roll it off of that seam right there. So when you come back and push it on the front, it'll just flex the floor a little bit more, and then you're going to come back and weld this down through here anyway. So let's get the welder hooked up and start tacking. Okay, we got everything tacked. See, I got it pushed up pretty flush against the plate. See how tight it gets against that cross member section there. I think it actually, well, just before touching it. And it's really tight against the floor right in here. Just tack the corners. Take the C-clamp off now. Just do it good enough where it's not going to pop loose. I'm going to MIG weld this, but around the chromoly tubing, I'm going to TIG weld. I'm also going to TIG weld up here. I just MIG tacked it because I was trying to hold it with my hand. So we're going to get that one welded in, and then we'll move on to the other side. you can see we got those welded in. The top's kind of a pain to get around, but just do what you can. There's not much, if any, that's not welded. Maybe in this back corner, as you can see, it's welded all the way down. Our tube welded all the way around, and we MIG welded the rest of this. Kind of got dirty right in there. Some body putty up in there trying to burn. You might have seen me stopping on the time lapse looking a lot because it was smoking pretty good. Always want to make sure you don't have some type of fire inside the car. So got these little things knocked out where I can look up in there and see. So now we're going to come in here and TIG weld and stitch weld, probably on both sides right here, and then up through here we're going to go inside the car and tap the floor back down against this where we can come in here. Well, actually we might not have to, looking at this side. So I'm going to stitch weld the subframe all the way down until it starts raising up where the gap's too big. So this will attach the subframe to the floor right here, because right here we're going to do a torque arm cross member off of the subframe, and we'll also brace that with tabs right here where it'll be good and strong. So let's get the TIG welder fired up and get this stitch welded. Got everything put up, out of the way. Just finished TIG welding the rest of the spots. You can see here we stitch welded 3 spots right there. On this side there couldn't get to too many. We put a couple dabs there, put a couple dabs there, welded down through here. On this side we also welded here, here, and we've got a good run right there to the floor. Tying it in those extra points, we also got a couple of stitches back here. But tying it into those extra points really strengthens the tube. And like I said, whenever we do the cross member for the torque arm, we're going to be coming off of here also and attaching it here where your short torque arm kits go. So all of this tied in together will be really rigid. But for SFI certification, you have to weld the subframes to the floor. So weld what you can. You could probably come down through there with some really big filler rod and just pile it in there. That's up to you all guys, or up to you guys. But this is what we typically do, just stitch it where we can. And this video's turned into a pretty lengthy thing. I'm not gonna film doing the other side, but repeat the same process for the other side. And that is our subframe connector kit. Alright guys, we got all the subframe bars installed completely, and I wanted to go back and show you how we connect it to the roll cage. And I also went back and welded a lot more to the floor, so I was going to show you that. You can see right here, I welded, well, that's my hand right there, probably 6 or 7 inches down through there. I welded to the floor. I did just stitch it 3 times on the inside. Same thing over here. And on the outside, I welded a really long run. You're gonna have to go in and tap the floor back down flush with the bar, where you ain't got as big a gap. And also, while we're under here, I'll show you how we tie from the roll cage down to the subframes. You can see right here, there's 2 tubes coming down through the floor. See if you can see through the hole right there. Probably not. Yeah, you can see it a little bit coming down through the floor. I'll show you what it looks like from the top. But we supply these tubes when you buy our 25/5 90% kit. These tubes will come with it, and they are designed and notched to run down to the subframes. So we cut a little access panel in the floor there. I'll show you that from the top, just to get around it where we can weld. You can get to some of it down here, but you can get to most of it up top without having to get under the car again. So that's just an overview again. It's kind of dark, it's the next day. But that is the complete install. Let me let the car down and show you on the inside. This side, the door's already open. Okay, see how the tube connects? And the camera right here. This welds directly to the lower cross member, and I've already bent this a little bit where it fits. I just rough cut a hole in the floor. I originally done it with a hole saw, and my hole was slightly off, so I just opened it up with a grinder a little bit, or a cutoff wheel. But get those welded in good. I put this on before I put the tube on. Obviously just a piece of sheet metal with a 1 5/8 hole cut in it. Nice way to cover up the hole. Same thing on that side. But that's the complete subframe install. We keep these in stock. They come standard with the 25/5 90% kit, which is going in this car. It's still missing the door bars and a couple other things. So pick one up if you need it. Make your install easy. See you next time.